The family photo that changed every night until my face disappeared. Hi everyone. Before we get into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel's reach has been dropping a bit, and one of the best ways you can support us is by subscribing. It's quick, free, and helps us keep bringing you new and interesting stories. Your support means the world to us, and together we can grow this channel. Thank you so much. Now let's get to today's story. I'm writing from a temporary account for obvious reasons, and I've changed some details to protect my anonymity. The house came to us through a distant relative I'd never met. My wife Claire found the letter in our mailbox on a Tuesday afternoon, sandwiched between credit card offers and grocery store flyers. Thick cream paper, expensive stationery. The kind people don't use anymore. Inside, a lawyer's letter informing us that Harrison Brennan, my father's cousin twice removed, had died and left us his property at 1156 Hollow Ridge Road. "Did you even know you had a cousin named Harrison?" Claire asked, reading over my shoulder. I didn't. My father had been an only child, and his family tree was sparse, pruned by early deaths and estrangements. But the letter was legitimate, the deed was being transferred to our names, and we had 2 months to decide what to do with the property. We were living in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment with rent that kept climbing, and a landlord who fixed nothing. Claire was pregnant with our first child. We needed space, we needed a home, so we took it. The house sat at the end of a long gravel driveway, surrounded by trees that had grown too close, their branches scraping against the siding like fingernails. It was a Victorian, or had been once, 3 stories of weathered wood and peeling paint, with a wraparound porch that sagged in the middle and windows that reflected nothing but darkness even in daylight. "It has character," Claire said, her voice carefully optimistic. It had something. Whether that was character remained to be seen. The real estate agent who met us there was nervous, kept checking her phone, kept glancing at the house like it might lunge at her. She handed us the keys and left within 10 minutes, citing another appointment, though her car sat in our driveway for 5 full minutes before she finally drove away. Inside, the house smelled of dust and decay and something else. Something organic and wrong, like flowers left too long in stagnant water. The furniture was still there, covered in white sheets, ghostly shapes in every room. The electricity worked, but the lights flickered. The water ran brown for the first several minutes. Every floorboard creaked under our weight, announcing our presence to whatever emptiness filled these rooms. "We can make this work," Claire said, touching her growing belly. "Fresh paint, new furniture, some love. It'll be perfect." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to see what she saw, potential, possibility, a future. But all I could feel was the house watching us, weighing us, deciding if we were worthy, or if we were next. We found the photograph on the 3rd day. We'd been clearing out rooms, sorting through decades of accumulated belongings. Most of it was junk old magazines, broken furniture, boxes of receipts from the 1970s. But in the hallway on the 2nd floor, we found a single picture frame hanging on the wall, covered in dust so thick it looked like velvet. Claire wiped it clean with her sleeve, and we both stepped back to look. It was a family portrait, black and white, formal, probably from the 1920s based on the clothing. A man and woman standing stiffly, the man's hand on the woman's shoulder. In front of them, 3 children arranged by height. And to the side, slightly apart from the group, an older woman in dark clothing who might have been a grandmother or maiden aunt. 7 people total, all staring directly at the camera with the serious expressions people wore in old photographs, when exposures took so long that smiling was impossible. "Should we keep it?" Claire asked. "It's just a photograph," I said, "probably from when the house was built. Historical." So we kept it, dusted off the frame, straightened it on the wall, and left it hanging in the hallway outside what would become the nursery, a piece of the house's history, a connection to whatever families had lived here before us. I should have thrown it away. The first change happened 3 days after we moved in. I came downstairs for coffee and walked past the photograph as I did every morning, but something made me stop, made me turn back and look closer. The woman in the photograph, the mother, standing with her husband's hand on her shoulder, was looking in a different direction. Not much. Just slightly to the left instead of straight ahead, but enough that I noticed. Enough that I stood there for a full minute, staring, trying to remember if she'd always been looking that way. "Claire?" I called. She appeared at the top of the stairs, hair still wet from the shower. "What's wrong? Does this woman look different to you?" Claire came down and studied the photograph. "Different how?" "The direction she's looking. I thought she was looking straight ahead." "She is looking straight ahead." "No, she's looking left. See? Her eyes." "Babe, you're looking at a photograph from 100 years ago. The quality isn't great. Her eyes probably always look like that, and you just noticed now." She was probably right. The photograph was old, faded, the details soft and indistinct. I was seeing things that weren't there, patterns and randomness. I went to work and forgot about it, but the next morning I looked again. Now the man was looking down. Not straight ahead where he'd been looking yesterday. I was sure he'd been looking straight ahead, but down at the children in front of him. I took a photo with my phone, sent it to Claire with the message, "Am I crazy or is this changing?" She texted back, "It's a photograph. Photographs don't change. Maybe get more sleep." Maybe she was right. Maybe I was tired. The house made strange noises at night, kept waking me up. Footsteps in empty rooms, doors closing that we'd left open. The normal sounds of an old house settling, Claire said, but they felt purposeful, intentional. On the third morning, one of the children was gone. Not blurred, not faded, just gone. Empty space where the smallest child had been standing, a gap in the formation that made the photograph look unbalanced, wrong. I grabbed my phone and compared it to the photo I'd taken yesterday. In yesterday's photo, all three children were clearly visible. In the photograph hanging on the wall, there were only two. "Claire!" I shouted, my voice cracking. "Claire!" She came running, panic on her face. "What? What's wrong? Is it the baby?" "The photograph," I said, pointing. "One of the kids is missing." She looked, frowned, looked closer. "There were three children yesterday," I said. "Look at my phone. Look at the picture I took. 3 children. Now there are only 2. Claire took my phone, compared the images. Her frown deepened. That's impossible." "I know. Photographs don't just change." "I know." We stood there side by side, staring at the impossible. The empty space where a child had been. The way the other 2 children had shifted slightly to fill the gap. Their positions adjusted, as if they'd always been arranged this way. "We should take it down," Claire whispered. I reached for the frame. The moment my fingers touched it, I felt something. A pulse of cold that shot up my arm and into my chest. A sensation of being watched, evaluated, measured. I jerked my hand back. "What?" Claire asked. "Nothing. Just cold." I tried again, forcing myself to grab the frame despite the wrongness radiating from it. I lifted it off the wall and carried it downstairs to the basement, holding it at arm's length like something contaminated. The basement was unfinished, just concrete and darkness, and the furnace squatting in the corner like some mechanical beast. I shoved the photograph behind an old filing cabinet and turned off the light. When I came back upstairs, Claire was still standing in the hallway, staring at the rectangular outline on the wallpaper where the photograph had hung. "Do you think we're losing our minds?" she asked. "Maybe," I said, "but we're losing them together." That should have been comforting. It wasn't. The photograph was back on the wall the next morning. Same spot, same angle, hanging exactly as it had been before I took it down. "Did you put it back?" Claire asked. "No. Did you?" We stared at each other. Then we both went down to the basement. The filing cabinet was undisturbed. Behind it, nothing. The photograph was gone. But upstairs it hung in the hallway, watching us with its unblinking eyes. Only now there were only 6 people in the photograph instead of 7. The older woman who'd been standing apart from the family was gone completely, not even a shadow to mark where she'd been. "We're selling this house," Claire said. Her voice was flat, final. "I don't care how much we need the space. We're not raising our baby here." I agreed immediately. We'd find somewhere else. An apartment, a townhouse, anything. This house, whatever was wrong with it, could be someone else's problem. But when Claire called the real estate agent, the woman's number was disconnected. When we looked up the lawyer who'd sent us the deed, his office had closed. When we searched for any record of Harrison Brennan, my supposed relative, we found nothing. No obituary, no death certificate, no proof he'd ever existed. The house had come to us through a ghost, and now we were trapped inside it. The changes accelerated after that. Every morning, another face would be altered. Eyes that looked in different directions, mouths that seemed to be screaming, though the photograph was silent, hands that reached toward the camera, though they'd been at rest the day before. And one by one, the people disappeared. First the remaining children, then the father, then the mother, her face the last to go, her eyes staring directly at the camera, directly at us, until the moment she vanished, leaving only empty background. By the end of the first week, the photograph showed only an empty room. No people, no family, just the formal backdrop where a family had once stood. But we couldn't stop looking at it, couldn't stop checking every morning to see what had changed. The photograph held us captive with its impossible transformations, its gradual erasure of everyone who'd once been captured by the camera. Maybe it's a warning, Claire said one night, lying in bed, her hand on her belly. Maybe it's showing us what happened to the people who lived here before. Then where did they go? She had no answer, neither did I. The house creaked around us, settling into night. Or maybe not settling. Maybe waking up. Maybe becoming more itself in darkness. I thought about the photograph hanging in the hallway, empty now of people, but not of presence. I could feel it watching even from here, even through walls and distance. What was it waiting for? Our cat disappeared on a Tuesday. Muffin was an old cat, 16 years old, arthritic and cranky but beloved. She'd been with me longer than Claire had, a constant presence through college, failed relationships, career changes. She'd made the move to the house without complaint, claimed the sunny spot by the living room window as her own. On Tuesday morning, she was gone. We searched everywhere, called her name, shook her treat bag. But Muffin had vanished as completely as if she'd never existed. And when I looked at the photograph that afternoon, I saw something new. In the empty room, in the corner, barely visible, a cat, gray and white, sitting primly with her tail curled around her paws. Muffin. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." I grabbed the photograph off the wall, ignoring the cold that radiated from it, and threw it against the floor. The glass shattered. The frame splintered. I stamped on it, ground it under my heel, destroyed it as thoroughly as I could. Then I gathered the pieces and took them outside, put them in a metal trash can, poured lighter fluid over them, set them on fire and watched them burn until nothing remained but ash and twisted metal. When I came back inside, Claire was standing in the hallway, her face white. "It's back," she said. The photograph hung on the wall, unbroken, undamaged. And in the corner of the empty room, a gray and white cat sat watching us. I started researching the house, drove to the county records office, searched through old property transfers, marriage records, death certificates, built a timeline of everyone who'd lived at 1156 Hollow Ridge Road. The house was built in 1923 by a family named Morrison. Parents, 3 children, the mother's mother. They lived there for 3 years. Then in 1926, they vanished. Not gradually, all at once. Left behind a furnished house, clothes in closets, food in the pantry. Simply ceased to exist. The house sat empty for 5 years before being sold to a family named Chen. 2 parents, 1 child. They lasted 6 months before the child went missing. The parents moved out immediately after. The child was never found. More families after that, all with the same pattern. Move in, stay for weeks or months, then someone disappears. A child, a pet, a grandparent. Never the whole family at once, which would have been suspicious. Just one person, here and there, erased from existence. The house had been occupied by 15 families since 1923. 73 people total had lived here. 19 of them had disappeared without a trace, and every single disappearance was preceded by that family finding and hanging a photograph in the upstairs hallway. Always the same photograph. Always showing a family from the 1920s. Always starting to change the moment it was hung. I found documentation in old newspaper archives. Families describing how the photograph transformed, How faces disappeared. How they tried to remove it, but it always returned. How they became obsessed with watching it, checking it every morning, unable to look away even as they recognized the danger. The house didn't just take people, it documented the taking, made them watch, made them complicit, and now it was our turn. The morning I found my face in the photograph, I knew we were out of time. The empty room was no longer empty. A new family had appeared, formal and stiff, arranged in the same positions as the original photograph. A man and a woman, the woman visibly pregnant, Claire and me. We have to leave, and I said, right now. Pack a bag, we're going. We've tried, Claire said. Her voice was hollow. Every time I get in the car, I can't remember where I plan to go. Every time I reach for my phone to call someone, I forget who I was calling. The house won't let us leave. Then we burn it down, destroy it. There has to be a way. Do you really think we're the first people to try that? I didn't have an answer, because she was right. 15 families had lived here. 19 people had disappeared. Some of them must have tried to fight back, tried to destroy the house, tried to escape. None of them had succeeded. The photograph showed me standing stiffly, my hand on Claire's shoulder, her hand on her pregnant belly. Both of us staring at the camera with expressions that weren't quite right. Too blank, too empty, like we were already halfway gone. Over the next week, I watched myself disappear. First, my eyes changed direction, looking away from the camera towards something outside the frame. Then my expression shifted, became fearful, pleading. Then my edges began to blur, my outlines softening like I was dissolving into the background. Claire's face remained clear, unchanged. The house was taking me first. I tried everything. Burned the photograph again, it returned. Broke every mirror in the house thinking maybe reflections were the key, nothing changed. Tried to leave a dozen times, but the moment I got in the car, my mind went blank. My purpose dissolving like sugar in water. The house had claimed me, was slowly erasing me from existence, and I could do nothing but watch it happen. I'm sorry, I told Claire one night. I should have never brought us here. You didn't know, she said, but there was distance in her voice, like she was already mourning me, already accepting my absence. When I'm gone, don't. When I'm gone, I continued, you have to leave. Promise me. Take the baby and leave and never come back. The house won't let me. Then make it let you. Fight it. Burn it down if you have to, but don't let it take you too. She didn't promise. We both knew she couldn't. The house decided who stayed and who left, and it had decided that I was leaving. On the 7th day, I was almost gone from the photograph. Just a faint outline, a suggestion of a person, like someone had started to draw me and then given up. I spent that last day with Claire, holding her, feeling the baby kick beneath her skin, memorizing the sound of her breathing, the scent of her hair, the weight of her hand in mine. I don't want to forget you, she whispered. You won't, I lied. Because I knew the house wouldn't just erase me from the photograph. It would erase me from memory, from records, from existence. Harrison Brennan, my supposed relative who'd left me this house, had probably been real once. Probably lived here with his own family. Probably stood for his own photograph that changed night by night until he was gone, and the house needed a new family to feed upon. The cycle continued. The house remembered, but the world forgot. That night, I dreamed I was standing in the hallway, looking at the photograph. But I wasn't looking at it, I was in it. Standing in that formal room with Claire beside me, unable to move, unable to speak, watching as the real me looked in from the outside. The photograph showed what would happen, but it also showed where the disappeared went. We were still in the house, all of us, every family that had lived here, every person who'd vanished, trapped in layers of photographs and reflections in the spaces between the walls. The house didn't destroy us. It absorbed us, made us part of itself. When I woke, I was lying in bed, but I couldn't move, couldn't speak, could only watch as Claire got up, got dressed, went about her morning routine. She walked past the bed without looking at me, like I wasn't there, because to her, I wasn't. The house had taken me during the night, erased me from her perception, even though my body still lay there, frozen, aware but invisible. I tried to scream. No sound came out. I tried to reach for her. My arms wouldn't move. I could only watch as she went to the hallway and looked at the photograph. In it, she stood alone. The man beside her was gone completely. She stood with her hand on her pregnant belly, staring at the camera, and her expression was changing. Fear creeping into her eyes, mouth opening slightly, like she was beginning to understand. I don't know how long I've been here. Time moves differently in the spaces between. Days blur into weeks, blur into years. I watch Claire from inside the walls, from inside the photograph, from inside the house that has become my prison. She tried to leave, tried to fight, tried everything I tried and more. But the house held her, pulled her back, made her forget why she wanted to escape in the first place. She had the baby here, a girl. They named her Emma. I watched from the walls as my daughter was born, as she took her first breath, as Claire held her and wept because I wasn't there to share the moment. Except I was there, always there, trapped in the house that remembered everything. Emma grew, started walking, started talking, started playing in the hallways where I watched from inside the wallpaper, the floorboards, the photograph that hung in the upstairs hallway. And one day when she was 3 years old, she stopped in front of the photograph and looked at it for a long time. "Mama," she said, "who's that man?" Claire came to look. The photograph showed two people now, a woman and a small child, Claire and Emma. The man was gone completely, erased, forgotten. "I don't know, sweetheart," Claire said, and I heard the confusion in her voice. Because she didn't remember me. The house had taken those memories, absorbed them, made them part of itself. I had been erased, but Emma kept looking at the photograph, her small face serious. "He looks sad," she said, and I realized she could see me. Not in the photograph as it was, but as it had been, could see the layers beneath, the people who'd vanished, the ghosts the house had collected. "Come on, Emma," Claire said, pulling her away. "Time for lunch." But Emma looked back over her shoulder, looked directly at the wall where I was trapped, and whispered, "I see you." The house took Claire 3 months later. I watched her disappear from the photograph day by day, watched Emma's face fill with confusion and fear as her mother faded. Claire fought harder than I did, held on longer, but the house always wins. The house always wins. Now it's just Emma in the photograph, a small girl, alone in a formal room, staring at the camera with eyes too old for her face. And around her, in the walls, in the spaces between, we watch. All of us. 73 people over 100 years, trapped in the house that remembers who stays. The Morrison family from 1923, the Chen family from 1931. All the families after, all the people who vanished, all absorbed into the house's memory, its structure, its very being. We're part of it now, part of the wood and stone and dust. We see through its windows, hear through its walls, feel every footstep of every new family that moves in. Because there's always a new family. The house calls them, sends letters through lawyers who don't exist, promises them exactly what they need most: space, home, a new beginning. And in the hallway, the photograph waits. Sometimes Emma talks to us, whispers to the walls when she thinks no one is listening, tells us stories, asks us questions. She knows we're here, can sense us in the way children sometimes can. But she's growing older. Soon she'll be a teenager, then an adult. Soon she'll forget how to see ghosts. And someday she'll leave. The house won't keep her because she was born here, made of its substance already. She's not prey. She's family. She'll leave, and she'll live her life. And she'll forget about the house where she grew up, where her parents disappeared, where photographs changed in the night. And then maybe 20 years from now, maybe 30, she'll get a letter from a lawyer who doesn't exist. She'll inherit a house from a relative she doesn't remember. She'll think about the space, about starting fresh, about giving her own children a place to grow. And she'll come back. She'll hang the photograph in the hallway, and the cycle will continue. Because the house remembers who stays, and those of us who stay remember everything. The house remembers who stays, and we stay forever, watching, waiting for the next family to hang the photograph.